We're on the air.
On the air.
Yep. We are on the air.
La air.
All right. Can everybody hear us?
Maybe.
Hold on. Let me go ahead. Boopity bop bop.
Which one do you want to do first, Shay? Which one do you want to do first? The hotels, or do you want to do
hotels.
Faye?
No, we gotta do hotels because that's gonna be hotels is going to be Tuesday's episode, so it's easier, especially for Debria when we shoot in order, so she doesn't get confused. All right, can everybody hear us? Let's see. So there's a bit of a lag. So
Always.
yeah, yep. Comment and let us know if you can hear us. Can everyone hear us? Okay. Got a minute till we start. So Madison, tell everybody your squonk story real fast.
Oh, so this last night, in the middle of the night, I got a message on my Instagram from a woman, and apparently she had gone to a Lord of the Rings trivia night, and somebody there had a squonk sticker on their water bottle, and so she felt compelled to send it to me because she is now obsessed with squonks as well. And I think that's a beautiful impact that we have made.
Yeah, to introduce people
to the squonk.
Lonely cryptids who
Thank you, Scarin.
need dates.
Yes. Well, and it's funny, the people on TikTok who have seen it, there have been multiple people from Pennsylvania who are like, of course, our depressed asses are gonna
Recreate the Eeyore of cryptids.
All right. Are y'all ready to go ahead? Scarin just commented and said, "I can hear and see y'all."
cool.
Yeah, I say let's bust it up. Boop, boopity boop boop. All right, everybody ready?
Ish.
Okay, let's do it. All right, Maddie. Make sure everything's sharp. Razor sharp.
Vampire.
All right.
I'm just getting everything pulled up. 1 second.
What's up, everybody? We got a few people joining us today. All right, Chris, what's a good ghost tip for today? While Madison's pulling stuff up.
Good ghost tip for today. I know we've covered whistling, dancing, and walking on graves, but I think it's also worth noting that you're probably better off not reading out loud any tombstone while in a graveyard.
Ooh,
When you read out loud,
I should record
when you
this.
speak out loud, of course, that is an evocation of all kinds of things. People underestimate the power of words. Words are, in fact, spells that we cast. For instance, if I were to say lemon, what happens is everybody conjures in their mind an image of a lemon or an idea of a lemon, or they understand what I'm saying. Pure magic. So if you're standing in a graveyard and you're looking at a gravestone, and we've all done it, we're like, Francis Jacobson. You've just said the name of a dead person over the bones of that person. So there is an evocation quality to it. So
That's a good point.
try not saying aloud the names reading from the stone while in the graveyard. I know that's going to be a difficult one, but it's a ghost tip.
It's
You
true.
don't have to take it. It's just one of those things.
Very
Although-
nice.
Although one of my favorite things to look for on headstones that I think everybody should read out loud is ones that have recipes on it.
Recipes. There's a cookbook coming out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
there's
there
a woman
is.
who goes around all around the country, like getting recipes off of and cooking the meals of the dead.
It's great.
And
It's
I
so
think,
fun.
I think she's going to come out with a cookbook, and I think that's amazing.
Wow.
What a wonderful thing to do is to put a recipe on
Yeah.
on the tombstone.
So if-
Mealworms.
no.
And then, Chris, will you lift the mic up just a little bit towards your mouths? All right, let's go for it. You ready?
Huzzah.
We're good to go. Oh, Ashley says good morning.
Guten Morgen.
Yeah. Is Jameson watching? All right. You
well,
ready?
Jameson probably has school. It's a Friday, is
It is
not?
Friday.
What am I talking about?
It's a school day.
Not to say people are not homeschooled, but we are not the most traditional educational programming.
No.
We are not PBS.
We can. Today is brought to you by the letter S for spooky.
Or spooky. Although Count from Sesame Street or whatever it was pretty spooky.
And
but
nobody ever addressed the
educational.
fact that he was a straight up vampire.
He was.
He had fangs and everything, and you're like, anybody?
But he was-
One. Beautiful neck. No, it's scary to think about because no one ever addressed like, well, does he not drink blood? They never discounted his vampirism. They were just like, well, he likes to count. It's like, does that forgive
right.
the wanton murder that he might be?
The vampire type activity he is
Yeah.
up to.
If he's practicing in straight up vampirism, it doesn't matter how much he counts.
All right, so Maria Cruz says, hi, guys.
Hello.
And Ashley Warner said, no, he's playing video games. He starts school Monday. All right.
Yeah, y'all got those long summers.
Right.
Yeah, daggum.
Yeah.
All right.
We started on August.
Hey.
Yes.
Alex Machado's here. Good morning. All right, here we go. Y'all ready?
Yes.
All right, and we are going to record. Courtney Heinrich said he's counting his victims.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
One, two.
Ooh.
All right, here we go. Maddie, you ready? And let's start it up. Go for it.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And I'm JT Timmons.
And today we have a very fun episode. We're going to be talking about the top 5 most haunted places that you can stay right now, which is super
Ooh.
exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Spooky tourism.
Yes, dark tourism is our favorite thing. It's our favorite type of tourism.
Yes.
The,
Although some dark tourism is just straight up weird. Like
I'm down with
I'm not. There's some levels of dark tourism that I'm not. I do not want to go to like killing fields or
Oh,
places
that's where we
where
differ.
horrible, terrible
Yeah.
things have occurred.
I was about to say I definitely want to go to Killing Fields.
No,
Yeah.
not for me. Not my interest.
That's okay. So that's a big thing with paranormal people, I find, is there's a lot of paranormal people that draw the line at true crime, and then there's the rest of the paranormal people that are like, give me all the true crime.
Yeah.
And
I enjoy true crime. I just don't want to actually go to these places. I just don't want to stand in the place where
Understood.
somebody suffered a great deal and died a horrible death.
Oh, I definitely do. I at Florida State, Cayo.
Well, yes, of course.
And it used to stand at a certain spot, right? And I knew that spot because I confirmed with my father. I'm like, this is it, right? And he's like, yes, freak. And so he's like, that's it, Jay. I remember. And yeah, so I would actually divert when heading to class. I would go the long way just to go by the Cayo every morning, like where it stood, because I don't know, it just gave me like I don't know, maybe I'm just a true crime freak, but it was
Although-
cool.
Possible.
a lot of the sorority houses at Florida State are haunted. My sister is currently in a sorority at Florida State, and she's living in it
And it's
right
near
now.
Cayo.
Yeah, it is. It's right near where Cayo was, and she's like, it's really haunted. and weird
Universities
things
harbor
happen.
amazing amounts of paranormal activity because it is oftentimes the breaking point of many people. Many people have their psychotic break at the age 19, 20. That is, or for the longest time, that was the comment. I believe the age has actually gone down now. Now the psychotic breaks
Yeah.
are more commonly seen in like 13 and 14-year-olds. But in that transition period between high school and real life, that pressure. So I think every university has a long line of self-harm, a long line of suicides and trauma, just straight up trauma. So yeah, I think university campuses, that might be a good episode for later, is the most haunted universities.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah, we did
That's a
talk.
great idea.
We did a whole episode on SCAD.
On SCAD,
and,
yeah,
and how
absolutely.
haunted SCAD is. But yeah, we could definitely do all the different other universities.
Penn State isn't Paranormal State like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the home base for that is Penn State.
It's true.
Yeah, it is true. All right, so let's jump into it. But first, we have a couple quick announcements.
Yep.
So Madison, go ahead and start us off. Let's start off with thanking the newest Parajunkies.
Yep. So,
all right.
Yep. So we want to thank a few new Parajunkies. So we've got Ricky Wilms,
Yeah.
Adrian Lopez, Casey, Minnie McPherson, and Trisha Cullen. So
Woo-hoo!
thank you guys so much for becoming Parajunkies. We really appreciate all the support and the things like that.
I
that
like
y'all
the alliteration of Mindy McPherson.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
It's a fun
that's
name.
That's a character name for like a play or a
Yeah.
It
movie.
really is.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
But yes, if you would like to become a Parajunkie, though, we really appreciate it. It helps us out to continue growing and making new content, like the short films and the live streaming and all that. It's because of the Parajunkies. And we also have a new option for annual subscription. So if you want to just like subscribe all at once, don't have to worry about monthly payments or anything like that.
And you get a discount.
And you get a discount. Definitely consider doing the annual subscription.
Ricky Williams did it. Thanks,
Woo!
Ricky.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you guys so much again, and definitely consider joining us over on the Parajunkie side. They're currently watching this as we
Heck
film
yeah.
it right
That's
now.
right.
So.
Yeah. They're getting this straight from the source.
Straight from the
unedited.
source.
Yes.
Because,
And
we
unhinged.
make so many mistakes you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
insane.
true.
It's true. If you're listening to this and you are on the border of becoming a Parajunkie, just fall off the cliff. Okay, just do it. Just do it. It's so fun. We have so
It's
much
so
fun.
fun to fall off cliffs.
Yes, you're right. Go to places where terrible tragedies happen and fall off cliffs.
Yes, that's what I'm
JT's
talking
travel
about.
tips.
Yes. And so, and then also before we get into today's episodes, we do want to thank our two sponsors for today's episode. So we want to thank Cosmic Corner, which is a local metaphysical shop here in Savannah. It's one of my personal favorites. I sell my jewelry through them. They're wonderful, wonderful people. They are LGBT owned, and they are just fabulous people, a really great pillar in the witchy community of Savannah. So if you want metaphysical goods, books, witchcraft tools, herbs, candles, altar goods, all the things that you could possibly want for your witchy needs or your banishing of negative spirits or whatever it is that you're doing. Definitely check them out. You can find them at shopcosmiccorner.com.
Yep.
And if you're in town, they are located off of 38th Street. But they are one of our lovely sponsors. And then our other sponsor is Savannah Repertory Theater.
Yes.
Yes, they are actually sponsoring today's episode to promote their upcoming production of Empanada Loca,
Woo!
which is going to be so fabulous. I
It's
am
gonna
so
be fun.
excited.
It's gonna be fun. It's based on the horrors of Dolores Roach, right?
So
Well,
it
yeah.
was a play
Or vice
first.
versa.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
it is the ultimate. The TV show is definitely where it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And a podcast actually was created around the story of Dolores Roach as well, because
Yeah, I was about to say it's a fascinating media trickle.
It is.
because it goes through many forms to finally land at a television show. Yeah.
Yes. So they are doing that next month. To give you a little synopsis of it, drug dealer, masseuse, ex-con, survivor. Dolores has led a life like no other. Now living deep under Manhattan in an abandoned subway tunnel, she has a story you won't believe or ever forget. Inspired by the legend of Sweeney Todd, one of JT's favorite musicals and one of
do
my
love
favorite
it.
as well, Empanada Loca is a thrilling new play about an indomitable woman who knows that this is a dog-eat-dog world. Only one rule matters: eat or be eaten.
Oh yeah.
Boom.
So yes, boom. So this play does contain graphic language, and it is intended for mature audiences
Good.
only. It is 18 plus. So if you live in Savannah and you are under 18, I am sorry. Maybe,
We could sneak in.
bruh.
Whoa.
No.
We make no promises.
Anyways, 18 plus only, but you can watch it on Hulu, I believe, or Amazon Prime, whichever the show is on, and it is excellent. But Empanada Loca will be the first show performed at their new location, the Rep downtown, which is 402 East Broughton Street in Savannah.
Right on the corner of Habersham and Broughton. It's an amazing space. It used
It
to be an
is.
Acura dealership, but it's this incredible location.
Yeah,
It
really
it's
is.
going to be fantastic. Performances are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. General admission is going to be $40. Senior/military tickets are going to be $35, and tickets are now on sale.
Yes, get them. Get them.
Yes. And those dates are going to be September 7th through the 10th, and then also the 14th through the 17th. So definitely
We're
check.
definitely going.
Yes, we will be there.
will be there.
At one of those nights for sure. So it's going to be really excellent. Definitely come check it out. They're also going to be doing a little bit more of an immersive experience, as from what I've heard. Is they're going to be
Will they be selling empanadas?
I think they will be. I think there will be empanadas, and there will be Latinx vendors and things like that selling their various wares and all that. So it's going to be a really good time.
All right.
But
Let's
yes.
thank you so much for the announcements. Let's go ahead and jump on into it.
Yes. All right.
Top 5.
Yes. Top 5 places to stay.
Let me tell you, Madison has taken this episode because she does a lot of the planning for the episodes. She has taken this episode more serious than any other episode that I've seen her plan because she's like, this is such an important topic. Like,
Well, yeah.
We need to just make this the checklist for this podcast, where we'll try to hit each and every one of these.
Oh,
in
that's a great
in the near
idea.
future.
that's a
and
great
so,
idea.
and it's so hard to condense into 5.
Yes, top 5 is tough. I was like, well, 5.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing is because I want to give you all the details on these places and things like that. So if we did a top 10, this would be a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, that's
it's
the issue.
like, that's
Still got to talk about them.
I mean, we can talk about the 5 through 10 next if
Sure.
you wanted to.
Okay,
but,
let's
that's
do
a
it.
good idea.
Yeah.
To be continued.
But for right now, though, this is the top 5. And if we do not include something that you think needs to be on this list, please go ahead and send it to us. But I will say, I took a lot of care in trying to decipher and weigh out the various reasonings of why these should be on this list.
Yes.
Because there are like 10 billion different places in
absolutely.
America. Just America.
And we're just doing America, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
just
just doing
America. This
Because
is
when we go international, that's
it gets even
That's
harder.
super difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. But yes, this is just America, and these are not all hotels. So you will see. Some of them are odd sleeping arrangements, at the very least. But so number 1. Actually, let's start with number 5.
Yeah, number
let's
5.
start
I was
with
about to
number
say.
5. All right. So
The
number
countdown.
Yes. Let's start with number 5. The Conjuring House.
Absolutely.
Burrillville, Rhode Island. I almost said North Carolina.
North
but-
Kakalaki.
Yeah, but it's not. It's Burrillville, Rhode Island. So all of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with the Conjuring House. I mean, how could you not? If you are into the paranormal, you'd be living under a rock if you didn't know what the Conjuring House was. But to give you a little bit of the history about the house. Now, mind you, all of these synopsises of the different places that I'm in their hauntings, I pulled straight from each of their websites because
Yeah.
we can tell their stories, but I want to hear it right from the horse's mouth.
What they are trying to
I
of
completely
what
agree.
they're trying to convey.
Yes. And we have pricing and like availabilities,
Yes.
right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we'll get into those in just a little bit, but I
awesome.
want to give the overview. So, with the Conjuring House, the old Arnold Estate, located in Harrisville, Rhode Island. So I guess it's like, since it's small towns, whatever. Technically, they are in Burrillville nowadays, but at the time when it was built, it was Harrisville, Rhode Island, is an authentic colonial home, circa 1736, whose paranormal phenomena were made famous by the Conjuring movie in 2013, depicting the hauntings of the Perron family that lived there in the 1970s. Its paranormal past runs deep as far back as the 1700s, when the spirits of native tribes remained embedded in the land up through the present day, with the many spirits who continue to inhabit and visit the property. The mystical farmhouse offers visitors an opportunity to engage with authentic paranormal activity and is considered one of the most active paranormal locations in the world. Set on 8.5 acres, surrounded by stone walls, open fields, a river, and a forest, which is like the perfect combination for a haunted location. Running water in general is like one of the best things you can have if you want a haunting. So there's that. But visitors come from around the world to observe and connect with the energy here that Andrea Perrin describes as a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since opening to the public in 2019, thousands of visitors have witnessed and engaged with the abundance of supernatural activity present here. For anyone longing to connect with the other side of existence, this is the place to do it. The Conjuring House is a historical treasure with pastoral beauty, providing that those who are curious with an experience they will never forget. For some, an experience here can provide the key to understanding that our consciousness survives death and that we can connect with those who have passed before us. So here's the thing. They do 10 bajillion different things at this house. So we're going to be talking specifically about staying at this
the
house.
overnight stay.
But they have a laundry list of staff that works for them. They have resident mediums. They have paranormal investigators on staff. They have tour guides. They've got just a slew of different people. So
And it is expensive.
it's the priciest one on this list besides, I believe.
I have the prices. Do you want me to just
Although-
throw them up real
I know, I
fast?
have it
Oh,
on-
you have
In,
Yeah.
in its staying capacity, the price is for the night, but you can split it among up to 12 people. Is that
So
correct?
it's up to, it depends on the night that you're going.
Right.
So how much it costs, hold on to your pearls. It's going to, so on Sundays through Thursdays, if you are staying the night and want access to the house, then it's going to be $960
Is
per
that private
night.
access?
No. So they will host up to 12 people.
Okay.
So it could be up to 2 groups
Okay.
in the house, but and you
That's-
have
they're
access to
making
the whole.
money.
You have access to the entire property, all 8.5 acres, the entire house, yada yada yada.
God dang.
So you can have up to 6 people. So that's $960 split amongst 6 people if you would like. Or if you want to add people to that, you can pay $160 extra per person if you had like a group of 7 or whatever it be. And that gets you access to everything. Or if you are going on a Friday or Saturday, then it is $1,280 per night for up to 8 people. And that also gives you free reign to the entire property. Now, if you just want to go stay on the property, but you don't necessarily want to paranormal investigate because they don't give you any of the paranormal investigative gear or anything like that. You got to bring your own gear, which I mean is not uncommon for paranormal experiences. They also offer a option that's a little bit more affordable to a degree called gamping. Ghost camping.
Gamping.
Gamping.
Welcome to camping.
Yes. And so they have decked out these like trailers of sorts and like glamping type tents that have couches, or they've got multiple beds. They've got, like all this stuff, but it is not like your traditional camping. They are not they very stately announced that they are not a campground, so there's not like a shower or anything, because most people who are going there, they're not really going to sleep there. They're going to spend the whole night wandering around the
With their
Conjuring
eyes peeled.
property.
Right, exactly.
But the camping, you can basically book that from anywhere to $300 up into $400, depending on how big of a tent or trailer that you're getting. But with that, you only get access to the outside. You do not get access to the inside of the house. So that would be more so, in my opinion, if you were a little bit weary to go investigate in the house, because the notorious
Isn't
type haunting.
legend? There's a tree on that property that served as a hanging tree.
Yes,
I mean, isn't that part of the whole?
the Conjuring lore. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's fascinating because, to be honest, if you've got a group of 6 to 8 friends, the price is cheap.
Yeah.
It's very cheap. It's less than $180 a person.
Oh yeah.
You know, when you think about it, for what you're doing, for that experience. Me and my wife nearly went, just the 2 of us, and willing to pay the price. because we were right there, we were like within a driving distance. It was like, oh, and it was just recently opened, so we're like, oh, okay. You know, we had just met people at the Lizzie Borden house that had come straight from the Conjuring house, and they were full of their stories of staying there. So so yeah, when we calculate it and we think of like if we were to bring the most haunted team, we definitely would be at least 4 people, if not, 6 people.
Yeah.
That becomes a very reasonable price
Exactly.
per person.
Yeah, you're right.
And the Conjuring House is one of the places that we have been contemplating going to in the near future.
We had
so it's
almost this past summer, we had serious conversations about going, like in June, July. We were like, we could set aside some time. We can get up there and split it amongst the team.
So eventually we're going to do it because it seems really fun. And now if you do stay in the house, they do give you cots. So if you get tired, you can take a nap in a cot.
I get a cot?
Yeah.
Yes, a whole cot.
A whole cot for
not-
$180?
Half a cot.
Wow.
Yes. But
You have to share it.
Yes, but you do
What?
not
No, I'm
get...
kidding.
Oh.
But you don't get a hot meal. So it's not like
No.
prison. Sorry.
Yeah, no
You
meals.
just get the cot. No hot. So-
Bring some Pop-Tarts.
yes. Bring some Pop-Tarts.
You're
and
not here for sleep.
You're here for ghosts.
I would be there for sleep. I would go to sleep at 11 like always.
We wouldn't.
I could not make it past 11.
We would not.
We have a JT waking stick.
We do.
We have to say, JT, scary things.
Scary
JT,
things are
grab the
happening.
camera. JT.
So that's definitely one that we'll be doing. But that is number 5. I put it as number 5 specifically because it's a really expensive experience for a lot of people to
And
do.
it's not, by any stretch of imagination, a hotel.
It's
or,
not.
Or, when you think about it, it is a very overglorified Airbnb.
It is.
So
And it is also the only one on this particular list that is a paranormal experience
Right.
over being a place to stay.
Yes.
right.
Also a reason why it's number 5, because you're not really going there to sleep necessarily, but
So-
you can sleep there.
Absolutely.
Maria Cruz said, I feel like it's almost justifiable in price for the paranormal experiences you could have.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No.
We would pay it. It's just
we're looking at this at the tourism dollar and not the experiential dollar.
Yeah.
exactly
Because there are certain things that don't have price tags to them.
it's true. And also when you're comparing it to some of the hotels that are on this list that are also very haunted, but significantly cheaper, it can be to some people a little bit more reasonable to go to those places.
Sure.
But also it doesn't include the fact that
If you start working per person though, or per bed.
Oh yeah.
Concept.
Well, it also doesn't include the amount of travel that it would take to get to those
a
places.
good point.
You know, it's like not everybody lives around Rhode Island, and so if you live in New England, then you are very lucky. But
Right. And all of New England is really compact.
it is.
Like it feels like you can traverse all of New England, in a weekend.
Yeah, you
I
can
think,
pretty
I think
bounce.
we did.
You can bounce around.
Right.
But yes. So number 4, we're gonna move on to Hotel Monteleone in New Orleans.
Woo woo.
I could not include a New Orleans hotel on this list because I feel like the paranormal community would come at me with pitchforks because y'all are so intense about New Orleans. I mean, like
Nolans.
Nolans is
it's a haunted city. It definitely is on the rival, toe to toe with Savannah when it comes down to the type of haunting and the level of notoriety for haunting.
exactly. This hotel is absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
It is right in the French Quarter. So if you're looking at it from like a place to visit, if you're going to New Orleans and you want to stay in a haunted hotel, this one seemed like a good location, locale-wise, because
Right, the entire French Quarter at your disposal is,
right, it's fantastic.
Right.
So this one has a multitude of different stories attached to it. But to give you some overview, they have one spirit, a maid known as Mrs. Clean, who reputedly haunts the hotel. Paranormal researchers once asked why she stayed, and the maid, whose mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother also worked at the hotel, said she was picking up after housekeeping to ensure high standards. So you'll know that's
there
when
you
you
go.
go there. It's
Right.
always going to be luxurious because of Mrs. Clean.
This is Clean.
Oh,
Mr.
Mrs.
Clean's
Clean.
estranged wife.
Right. On a side note, the hotel is also home to one of the best and most historic bars in the city, Care Forgot, which is what they call it. That is not just, us outsiders calling it that. That is literally what I remember that very distinctly. Because New Orleans, it earned that nickname.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Especially after Katrina, you could tell, like when we went there in 2019, 2021, one of the two, that whole era of 2020s was just a blur. But
yeah.
one of the years around that, when we went to New Orleans, you could feel the impact. Because like a lot of the cemeteries had been overgrown, things like that. So I understand why they call it the city that Care Forgot, which is sad. And I hope that changes eventually. But the cemeteries are still beautiful to see and things. But anyways, back to the hotel. So the ghost of Maurice Begier.
We're just going to go through all the possible...
Yeah, because I know that somebody is going to know exactly how to pronounce that, and they're going to be like, actually, it's this. But anyways.
Alex Machado's from NOLA.
Really?
There
Oh,
you
that's
go.
great.
Yeah.
So Maurice, we'll just call him Maurice, has not been the only sighting on the 14th floor. He's their most famous ghost of the Hotel Monteleon. So one night, a couple entered the elevator on the lobby of the hotel. They pressed the number for their appropriate floor and found themselves in a tight embrace. In an attempt to keep this article PG rated, found themselves sounds like the best way to phrase it, is what they had listed on their website. They were so otherwise preoccupied that they didn't realize the elevator had stopped on the wrong floor, the 14th floor.
Dun, dun, dun.
It sounds like a Stephen King novel. The door pinged open and the couple stepped out, eager to head back to their hotel suite. But the moment that the elevator door closed behind them, the air around them grew cold and the skin on their arms prickling as an inkling of awareness edged out. The passion, holding hands, they slowly made their way down the hallway with each foot planted on the ground. The already cool air grew that much colder and the chill shuddered down their spines. They rounded the bend in the corridor and nearly released a scream at the ghostly scene before them. Although the couple hightailed it back to the elevator, with record speed, what they saw was imprinted in their memory. Apparitions of children playing in the middle of the hall, children not wearing present-day clothing, but clothing of a bygone era. Of childlike giggles, then one by one, each child's apparition stopped to stare at the couple before vanishing from sight.
Always worth mentioning that many tall buildings, the 14th floor is in fact the 13th floor, because they do not call the 13th floor the 13th floor.
It's true.
In an attempt to avoid, the calamity that comes from that superstition. So it's very possible that the 14th floor is in fact the 13th floor.
That is true. So these ghostly children might have been in a previous era, but various other paranormal investigators over the year have come to in contact with a 10-year-old boy who also likes to frequently visit the 14th floor. Though the spirit informed the investigators through EVP sessions that he died at a later age, he apparently likes to return to the Hotel Monteleon as a young boy so he can play with the other spirits of children who remain at the hotel. So, there is a bunch of different apparitions and things you can come in contact with if you stay at the Hotel Monteleon.
And Alex wanted to add in that there is a hotel in NOLA where the singer from the Heartbreakers died in it, and apparently his ghost haunts his room, and his name was Johnny Thunders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is also not uncommon for music towns and things like that. You see it out in LA too. The Roosevelt Hotel, which did not make it on this list. I know a lot of people will ask about that. Marilyn Monroe is also rumored, same way to haunt her room, even though I don't think we discussed that on the podcast.
She died in her home.
Yeah, she died in her home, but it was a place
she frequented, and they kept it for her.
Mm-hmm.
It was the kind of thing that they kept for her. And even the Marshall House here in Savannah, there's a trumpet player who committed suicide. And
The Marshall House is extremely haunted. It does not make our list because they don't like to say that they're haunted.
right,
And they
do not
also
feature
are
it.
owned by a larger company that
Avoids the
that
haunted.
denies
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
entirely.
Yes.
Although the Marshall House is truly one of the most haunted places.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like you can't deny people's experiences, and I think that's what matters with places because it's true. Although I don't understand why you wouldn't want to own your haunted nature, but you know, like one of my first paranormal experiences in Savannah was at the Marshall House. You know, it's a very, very haunted place to be, but yes, it did not make our list because of that. So. Anyway, so the Hotel Monteleone, if you want to book it, you can book it through their website. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that for the Conjuring House, you can book it through their website, and there's a variety of different ways to book on their website. You just have to follow whatever best fits what you're trying to experience. But with the Hotel Monteleone, you can book just like their normal, any room, just through their website at the hotelmonteleone.com. It costs anywhere. Here's the kicker. If you want to get bougie, you can get bougie with this hotel. If you want to be on a budget, you can also do that because it can range anywhere from $189 per night, not too bad, not too shabby, all the way to $1,283 per night.
Ooh.
So that's why I said if you want to get bougie, you can get bougie. But the most haunted part is the 14th floor. So if you are looking to stay on the 14th floor, I would highly recommend calling probably. That's usually the best way to go about it is trying to call and book over the phone. So that way whoever is helping you can put you in the best proximity to that. Because I find a lot of times when you're trying to book haunted locations, especially with hotels, they're going to make it a little bit more difficult to get certain rooms or whatever it is.
Well, especially online, like the online system, you know, you're just being put in as input. There's no, you know, back and forth to be had.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you're just looking to stay in the hotel in general and you just want to venture up to the 14th floor, you can easily do that. That's not an issue. I will say, though, in just common haunted tourism practice, if you're looking to go anywhere near Halloween or New Year's or any big holiday, definitely try to book in advance.
Or just don't.
Or don't do
because
it.
Because the amazing thing is going in off season to these places is so wonderful because not only are you avoiding a hike in price, you're also avoiding a hike in perception. A lot of people show up at this time. It becomes very crowded. So if you go in the off seasons, you get more personal time. You get a little more elbow room, as it were.
It's true. Yeah, and especially like places like Savannah, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, if you come here in January, February, you own this town.
It's true. You do, and sometimes that's the best time to encounter a spirit. It really is.
It's relatively temperate. You know,
it's not that bad.
It's compared to, you know, anything in New England. You come to Savannah,
true.
You're like, oh, this isn't winter.
So, speaking of Savannah,
boom, boom, boom.
Our number 3 is the 1790 Inn, and so one of our favorites. It's owned by a just really wonderful man named Patrick, and
shout out to Patrick.
Shout out to Patrick. I know he's listening to today's episode because we made sure to get all the details from him for this episode. But yes, so it is a fantastic place to stay. Now, the story of Anna, which is the most haunted room in the hotel, I made sure to pull exactly what's on their website because there is so much discrepancy,
There's a lot of discrepancies, absolutely,
when it comes to her story in particular. So, on their website, they talk about 3 different spirits, including Anna. So there are at least 3 spirits which are believed to inhabit the inn. Anna is the most well-known. Guests staying in room 204 frequently report strange happenings such as jewelry or clothing being mysteriously moved from one place to another. Some have experienced being nudged or having bed covers moved. And she always seems to be a friendly spirit, yet always wanting to make her presence known. According to folklore, Anna was a bride of an arranged marriage who fell in love with a sailor in the early 1800s. She is said to have thrown herself to her own death from a third-floor window onto the brick courtyard below, just as the sails of his ship left her sight and headed down the Savannah River to sea. That's so romantic.
It is so romantic.
I know. Some suggest that she was pushed from the window by her angry husband-to-be who had paid for her passage to Savannah. Also very romantic and dramatic. So that's Anna's story.
Yep.
But
And
Anna...
that's room 204.
204.
Okay.
And Anna particularly is the one who gets a lot of discrepancies because there are a lot of people who will be like, she loves men or she really hates men. And
Or that she's Anna Powers, the original owner of the building,
Right.
versus a maid or
bride or
scullery
Yeah.
personality. There's so many stories about Anna, and even Anna being a questionable name because they think it was kind of transferred back and forth, but it works for identification purposes. Anna the ghost, and as a matter of fact, the 1790 Inn embracing the haunted nature of the stories there, placed a mannequin
I love that
in the
mannequin.
window.
Yeah.
So if you go by at night, you will see this figure in the window. That's actually not a room; it's a hall.
Yeah.
Which is especially weird because, like, my first experience there, I was actually working on a TV show that was, doing hauntings, and I didn't know about the mannequin. So I was walking in the hall, and there was a mannequin behind the curtains, and you're just walking by going, "What is that?"
What is that? Yeah, it's absolutely astonishing how many people get freaked out by that mannequin. But it's definitely.
But it shows you the good nature of
Yeah.
the
Yes.
establishment.
It's true.
Yes. And I have an announcement.
You have an announcement.
There's an
Yes.
announcement.
Yes. And y'all don't even know about it.
Oh,
Surprises.
Yep.
surprise announcement.
So we are right now we are at 121 Parajunkies. When we hit 140 Parajunkies, we will be doing an investigation inside of Anna's room 204.
Excellent.
Oh,
There you
yay.
go.
That's
It'll be
exciting.
for Parajunkies only.
Fantastic.
And it will be a live stream, and it will be like kind of a lot like what we did with Washington, Georgia.
That's excellent.
Good.
That's super fun.
Yep. So 140. We got what is that? 19 to go.
Yeah.
19 to go.
So become a Parajunkie, and do that. That's gonna be fun.
And you will
Also,
get to an investigation.
yes, and also, let's see. I spoke to Patrick yesterday, and we talked a little bit because I know there's some like special things with this room, like that you have to do and all that. And he, basically we just wanted to clear some air that there's not a year-long wait list like everyone says.
Everybody
there
says
is.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody says that there's not a year-long wait list. You have to book a year in advance for Halloween night
Absolutely.
and nights around Halloween, and also New Year's.
Yeah.
Other than that, there are plenty of
Plenty
availabilities, and you definitely need to check it out. It is 10% more to book that room.
Sure.
It's 10% more to book that
Yep.
room because there are, obviously
It's
people wanting
demand.
to investigate it, but
And wear and tear on the
Yeah.
room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it is like almost, I'm not gonna say it's guaranteed because nothing in the ghost world's guaranteed, but it is an exceptionally haunted room.
Yes.
Exceptionally.
Yes.
And in Halloween season, it's going to be, we have actually a prize that's going to be not for our podcast, but for a game show. We are partnered with the 1790 with the Savannah Underground as a prize package. So
Very cool.
we'll announce that at a later date. But yeah, we love the 1790.
Yes.
But anywho, there are other spirits though. There's a boy named Thaddeus who is sometimes seen on the ground floor of the restaurant and the tavern, which they do also have a restaurant in their inn, which is really different for like a bed and breakfast type, small inn. You don't usually see that. And so it is very convenient if you like a nightcap at the end of the evening.
Yes,
or you want
fantastic bar.
It's really nice. So there's that. Thaddeus leaves shiny pennies lying on the tables, bar, and the desk. He, too, is a friendly spirit who is sometimes experienced as a warm, unexplainable presence. And then there's one last spirit who I always heard about as being the negative spirit of the inn.
I would dare say protective.
Yeah, well, throwing things at people isn't very nice, but
context.
But context. But yes, so of a less friendly nature, there is a spirit that sometimes roams the kitchen area of the inn. Yes, she is a cook, and she is said to be wearing a lot of metal clanking bracelets. So people will often hear, that sound coming from like random areas in the kitchen, especially employees at later parts of the evening. And when they're closing down, they'll hear the cook, if you will. But also it's usually followed by pots and pans being tossed around or spice jars being thrown at unsuspecting kitchen workers. I also remember hearing like one story at one time, I don't even know if it's true, but about like some employee who came in and had a knife thrown at them.
The knife. Well, and that employee basically said it was my kitchen is what happened.
Oh.
The full exchange was the employee had been fed up by ghostly activities and announced that it was their kitchen, and a knife went flying at them.
So don't mess with her.
Yeah.
But yes, so definitely if you want to stay there, it's a really wonderful place to be. It's right in the middle of downtown. It's super accessible to like literally everything you want to be.
It's
near,
convenient walking to everything.
Everything. And so we highly recommend it.
It's only a block from the
It is everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like right there in the middle of just all the good stuff, huh?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like killer location.
Yeah.
You got the Colonial Park Cemetery literally right there.
Absolutely. Davenport House is right there.
Davenport's
true.
right there.
Keogh House is directly across the street.
Broughton Street, Leopold's, all the good stuff.
Owen Thomas House is directly across the street. It's well located. So even if you don't have any interest in ghosts, it's a great place to stay.
It is. And, but yes, like JT said, you can book it at any time during the year, except for, like Halloween, big special events.
And that is just that room. Keep in mind that the hotel does have
hauntings,
multiple rooms, and the entire thing is an experience to be had. There is on the same floor as the 204, and it's weird because you keep saying it's 204, but 204 is actually on the third floor. Because the restaurant is the bottom floor, and then the second floor is all the 10 rooms, and then the third floor is all the 20 rooms. But on that floor, down the hall, is a oblong mirror kind of coat rack thing. It has like a table, a mirror. Where you hang things, but it's just like placed in the corner, and that thing is a heebie-jeebie machine. You get up on that thing and you're like, oh, there's something wrong with this thing.
All right.
And it turns out that it came out of the Keogh House when it was a funeral home.
That sounds about right.
Moved across the street and put into the corner of that room, corner of that hall.
So, yeah, if you want to stay next to that, you can absolutely anytime during the year. It's really fun. And you can book that through their website regularly. And the room 204, if it is available, it will show up on their booking system online. And they make it really easy because you can literally pick what room you want to stay in. Like you want to stay in room 102, you can pick that on there as long as it's available. So I would say if you're looking to book it for your trip, put in your trip dates and just scroll on through and see if it's available. But definitely, I think a really solid number 3 for the list.
Yeah. All right. Before we go into number 2, pause this. Go watch the woman with mismatched fingers on YouTube. It's super dope.
Yeah.
And now number 2.
And based on a ghost mail, an actual experience that was shared with us through our ghost mail. And so if you have a ghost story, share it with us.
To ghostmail at hauntedcitypodcast.com. So, with that though, number 2.
Number 2.
the Crescent Hotel in Eureka
Oh, boy.
Springs, Arkansas.
We all know this
The
one.
Crescent.
Ah, yes. Well, I think it's a really freaky hotel, in my opinion, just based on the history alone. Is dark tourism like gold, you know? If you're not familiar with the Crescent Hotel, well, let me enlighten you. So it was originally built in 1886. The Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, was taken over by the criminal and entrepreneur Norman Baker, which also sounds a lot like Norman Bates,
Doesn't it,
but not in the same way. They did not have the same MO, so don't worry.
They have a ghost page.
They do. They have a whole ghost page. They like their ghosts.
They do.
So Norman Baker in 1937, who turned the property into a hospital and health resort while claiming to have a cure for cancer. How messed up do
So
you
dark.
have to be
So dark.
to tell people that, like, yes, I can cure your cancer? Come to my bizarre little hotel thing.
Well, it was all the craze of the period,
Yeah.
though, and a lot of people don't realize that the health retreats and the idea of health retreats were so big, and people died horrible deaths because they were being treated with just non-effectual things, and their pain was not addressed at all, because they were like, we've got this. We're going to give you, face massage and you'll be fine. And they're like, but I'm on fire. My body hurts. And they're like, face massage, you'll be great.
Right. So Norman Baker would be later jailed for mail fraud, although that was hardly his worst offense. Many people allegedly died under his untrained supervision, and some paranormal experts say the hotel's sordid past caused the spirits of several patients to stick around. The hotel is now a beautiful, expansive retreat. It offers ghost tours and even features images of ghosts spotted at the resort on its website. So this place, Norman Baker has still been captured around the hotel. Lots of patients have been captured around the hotel. So it's very haunted in that regard. I have never been to even Arkansas, so I can't speak on the fact of whether or not I think this is residual type hauntings or not. But nonetheless, if you want to go somewhere and just take a crap load of photos and see if you can capture something, it's a really good place to do so.
Yeah, they famously have a lot of evidence. Like, that's what I know of the Crescent. I don't have any real experience with the Crescent at all, but I do know that famously people have come away with some incredible photography and incredible images. And I like to think that there is something to the idea that when Norman Baker passed away, his spirit was literally drawn back to the place to torment him.
I would hope
that
so.
He would not have rest, that he would not be given rest. So, a lot of times we think about the weight of guilt, and I just don't believe he had guilt of his own. So I think he is being made to suffer, not suffering on his own.
Exactly. And, and I hope that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. That might just be wishful thinking, but I do think that because, by the time he passed, he was not associated with the building anymore in that regard. There probably is something at the place saying, you don't get to go.
You don't get to leave that easily.
You have no peace.
And so that's why I made it number 2, because I think with that dark of a past, you're going to innately get a lot of spiritual.
And the volume of because that's, again, like I said, the only thing I know about it is the volume of evidence that people seem to get from the Crescent. Absolutely.
And I think that speaks volumes in general about a place that if you're going specifically to find spirits, the more volume you have of spirits, the better chance you're going to have with a paranormal type experience. So makes it pretty high on my list. Also, Eureka Springs, from what I can tell, seems like it's kind of, it's a small town. It's not around like a ton of stuff. I mean, there's not a ton of stuff in Arkansas in general. So makes it.
I have very little experience with Arkansas. I don't think I've ever been.
Yeah, I've never been either, but it's it seems like that would also be a really good place for paranormal type activity because there's not a lot of input of outside stimulus, if you will. Because if I'm correct, the history of Eureka Springs was it was a hot springs town.
Right.
So it was already a health retreat type place. And I think they wanted to keep that honoring of the relaxing vibes, if you will.
Sure.
But yes, there isn't like one particular room that's like overtly more haunted. So it seems like you can just take your pick at the lot and just start wandering around the hotel, which they obviously accept happily.
Yeah.
And
Parajunkie Radar stayed in what, the Doll?
No, that was at the
another...
Jefferson Hotel in
Okay.
Texas.
Yeah.
But she caught an image. I can try to find it. She caught an image of what looked like a doctor in the.
Yeah.
It was weird.
In the elevator door.
Yes,
Not like
that's what
standing
it
in the
was.
elevator, but like in the.
Let me see if I
metal.
can't find
yeah,
it.
the reflection.
I think I have it because she sent it to me to edit, and I know she'd be cool with me showing it.
But yeah, she was the one who I first like really got the details of the Crescent Hotel, which I thought was interesting. But yes, so if you want to book it though, if you want to book a room in general, you just book through their website, which is crescent-hotel.com. And they have rooms that range from $180 per night up into $454 per night. So very reasonable and whatnot, depending, especially if you're only doing a little short jaunt over there. Not super bad. And they do nightly ghost tours, which is super fun.
That's super fun.
Yeah, so I think it's a really cool place to stay. It sounds very similar to what it was like when we went to the Magnolia Plantation
Yes.
out in St. Francisville, Louisiana.
That was before the podcast.
Yes, that was way before the podcast. And they had the same thing where you stayed the night there. They obviously don't care if you walk around the property and take photos and stuff, but they do a ghost tour every night. So you can, get access to the whole house, and they tell you all the history. It's very fun. So if that's the same way, I can imagine it seems like a good paranormal place to be.
Oh yeah.
But Jay, do you want me to move on to number one?
Move on. I'm still looking. I'll bring it back to it if I
Alrighty
can find
then.
it.
So
It's been a minute.
number one, the Queen Mary.
Bum bum bum.
The Queen Mary.
Yes. And I kind of kept this one brief for us because we did a
did a
whole
whole
episode
episode,
on
right.
the Queen Mary. So if you want all the nitty gritty details of what's going on that ship, check out that episode because we went very in depth. But it is unbelievably haunted. I actually had some guests from LA a couple weeks ago who came on my tour, and they were, very into ghosts and stuff, but the daughter was like a child actor or something. And so she had booked some job for a TV show, and they were filming on the Queen Mary. And so they booked rooms for all the cast to stay on the Queen Mary because their call time was like 5 a.m. or something. And they said that it was the worst experience they've ever had in their life. Like, the activity in their room was unbelievable. They're like, first off, it's claustrophobic because it's like a old cruise ship.
Cruise ship, yeah.
And so the rooms are like the size of, like a jail cell. And so you're staying in that. There's not really windows. I think they said they had like a porthole, and that was it. And then on top of that, they were talking about how like the spirits were pulling the covers off of them all night. They saw what looked like a woman standing in their doorway, staring at them all night and would not move, no matter what they said.
It couldn't help that they were doing recreations.
Right.
They were telling the ghost stories. So
Exactly.
You're automatically going to be targeted.
Exactly.
That you're portraying the ghosts and the people who have suffered on the ship.
Yeah, because so many people died on the Queen Mary from a variety of different things, and hence why I tell you go watch that episode.
Right.
Because if you want to know, like,
We have a
about
full episode.
all of those specific gory details. But the point is that it seems like every single person I've ever heard of or read about who has stayed on the Queen Mary has had some type of experience.
Sure.
And we even had a ghost mail sent in one time about
Yeah, we
somebody's
did.
That's what
experience.
spurred it, didn't it?
Yeah, the wet
that
ghost.
made us make the
the full
The
deep
full
dive.
episode, right.
Yeah, because they had the experience with the wet ghost.
Yep.
And it's like, which also will eventually spur another episode about
Sure.
wet ghosts and ghosts who die from tsunamis and things like that, maybe one day.
We were talking about that with cruise ships and haunting of cruise ships. You know, just the concept and idea of every cruise ship must be haunted as well.
Oh yeah. Well, and so that's so JT and I. The reason why we talked about cruise ships is because JT and I are our wedding anniversary is in October, but because we are in the
Spook
spooky
industry,
business, we cannot celebrate our wedding anniversary
No,
in
we cannot.
October. So we celebrate in September. So we are taking a cruise at the beginning of September on one of the. It is currently the world's largest cruise ship. It's brand spanking new. And so we were talking about, I wonder if it's already haunted or not. Because you can do a deep dive rabbit hole into how many people die on cruise ships annually. And it is baffling.
Not to mention just spirits lost at sea.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
the concept
absolutely.
of seeing this large, bright light in the dark and being like, I'm getting on that. you know,
Yeah. They're like, I'm tired of hanging out with all these sharks.
just floating
Yes.
out in the water somewhere.
And so, but like the sheer number of homicides that happen on cruise ships, that happens a lot. A lot of people die from heart attacks, strokes, because
For
they
anybody
don't-
who's getting this bright idea, just because you're in international waters doesn't mean you can kill someone and not be prosecuted.
Exactly.
You know, I think because I think there was an epidemic of people who thought they could commit heinous crimes on ships, and because you're in international waters, you're not actually accountable to the law.
Yeah.
That's not what that means.
That's not what that means.
and you will have to answer. Well, if you're caught, you will have to answer.
It's a lot of times, a lot of the stories, because JT and I are freaks, if you didn't know. In the last cruise we went on, we did a deep dive into this, and a lot of them are lovers' quarrels.
Oh, sure.
You know, people go on honeymoons, and they definitely should not have gotten married in the first place, and now they're
Facts.
trapped in a tiny room together, and they go insane. They snap. So that happens a lot. People die from natural causes, like because a lot of elderly people go on cruises. So there is also...
And that's another thing is, you know, later in life, a lot of people dedicate all their free time and their leisure time to cruises.
It's
So
true.
after they pass, cruises are still big in their spiritual journey as a part of where they felt safe, a part of where they felt loved and goodness. So going onto a cruise ship is what the pattern of the spiritual activity was as well.
It's true.
All right, I have the photo.
Okay, pull it up.
All right, so this photo was sent in by Parajunkie Radar. This was at the Crescent Hotel, which is our number 2 haunted hotel today. And basically, I'm going to show it to y'all in 1 second, but basically on the left side, it is the original photo, and that's the one she sent me. She asked me to edit it in Lightroom. And so I put it in Lightroom, and I did some editing, and then the middle one and the third one over all the way to the right, that's where you can see the faces. So here, I'll turn it for you guys, and boom. All right, it's actually just one face, but here's the original photo, and then you have the face right here.
It's hard for us to tell on this screen, but I
can
know
see
it.
it.
I know what
Yeah.
this photo looks
And
like.
then this one, you can see a pretty defined face.
In the bowler hat,
Right
too.
there. Yeah, and the bowler hat. So,
Which would have been appropriate for the 30s
Yeah.
when he was practicing.
Absolutely.
yep. So, that is it.
Wow. There you go.
So she might have caught Norman Baker.
Woo!
But
Scam artist.
yes. And so, but because of the sheer volume of paranormal activity and it seeming like literally every single person who comes onto that ship has some type of paranormal experience, that seems like a number 1 for me.
Yes.
And it's so accessible for everybody to go because you don't have to stay in a particular room to have paranormal activity. You can
Just
literally
haunted all around.
it's just haunted all around, which I personally really love, and I would love to go stay there eventually. It's been a long time since I've been out to California, but but yes. So that the Queen Mary is currently docked in Long Beach, California, outside of LA. So If you live in the LA area, which I know a lot of our listeners do, definitely go out to the Queen Mary.
And that's a good point to bring up. Wherever you are, there is a haunted hotel near you. Wherever you are. So, just do a little Google search, find out the haunted hotel near you, the nearest one to you, and check it out. I mean, if that is something that you're interested in, if you want to have those experiences, it is a self-contained experience because for the price of a hotel room, you are now staying in a place that offers you the opportunity to experience some haunting or at least be in proximity to some haunting. So, don't think that you need to adhere to any list. Because you take the Fitzpatrick, it is kind of an out of the way hotel, but it's right there in kind of the rural area of Georgia. It's a fantastic place to experience or to have experiences in, and that gives you this kind of idea that anywhere will have a haunted hotel, anywhere you go to. I'm kind of surprised the Stanley Hotel didn't make it to the top 5.
So we have honorable mentions. It's, and so to finish at the Queen Mary, though, definitely you can book any of the rooms on the Queen Mary. They also have a variety of different experiences as well. If you just want to go visit it, they have that option as well. You don't have to stay there. But the Queen Mary can be booked through their website, queenmary.com. And it costs anywhere between $136 to $255 a night for just a stateroom. But they do offer other packages, and ghost tours are an additional fee. So if you want to book a ghost tour at the end of the night as well, that's a really great experience. And one day, and I'm sure we will all go out there and do that. But
one day.
But yes, for our honorable mentions, though, we have the Fitzpatrick Hotel in Washington, Georgia.
Yes.
We have the
so
haunted.
So very haunted.
And
just not a lot of notoriety to it.
Exactly.
Yet.
But although Ghost Brothers did.
Yes.
They did do
that's
that.
Pretty cool.
Which is really exciting for them. But then we have the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. And then I had one more, but I can't remember it. But yes.
It was,
Was
you
the
told
Hawthorne
me.
in Salem?
I had that one as well.
I mean, literally anywhere you go. If the Cecil Hotel still was open, is it open? It's not open, I don't think. But that would have been on the list, absolutely. So there's plenty. Like everywhere you go, every town, every city, there is a hotel that has a ghost story attached, and we put it to you, Parajunkies. Find a haunted hotel and stay the night.
Yeah.
And then write a ghost mail to us about it.
Do it.
Yes.
I had the Hawthorne Hotel on my top 5 list, and I actually booted it. So it's
The Hawthorne is such a nice hotel.
It is.
And,
It's beautiful.
And it doesn't have no heebie-jeebie alarms going off, but it's a beautiful hotel, and you're kind of like,
It's
oh,
historic.
this is nice. There's a hotel in St. Augustine. It escapes my brain, but I remember walking down the halls of that hotel in St. Augustine and thinking, this just doesn't feel natural.
Right.
Like literally, the halls were diagonal, so it wasn't like you were like walking straight down. You were walking at a diagonal and then another diagonal, and you're like, this can't be right. Who puts diagonal halls in anything?
So I remember my last one now. It was as an homage to my hometown, the Don Caesar in St. Pete, Florida, which is, if you look up a lot of the lists of most haunted places to stay in the U.S., the Don Caesar does usually make it. I didn't include it on this list because it's not haunted enough to beat out the rest of these things, but I think it's an honorable mention, and it's a beautiful place to stay if you're in St. Pete at all. But yes. But with that, y'all, I hope you enjoyed today's episodes. And like we said, if you have any haunted hotels that you would like us to do a deep dive into, or haunted places to stay that you'd like us to do some more research on, send it in to us. You can pretty much send everything to ghost mail at this point, since TikTok has taken away all my resources.
Any questions you have, any responses you have, all, and of course, ghost stories.
Yes, and ghost stories. But with that, though, y'all, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.
All right. Excellent. You want to jump into Faye? And that's the last episode of the day.
Yes.
Faye's the last episode of the day.
Fayday.
So,
Fayday.
Do you want me to do the same announcements, like Cosmic Corner and Savannah Rep and all that? Or
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Straight up. We can make them quicker because
Okay.
this is Saturday's episode, so it's going to be quicker.
So they already heard.
Yep,
the
yep,
first
yep,
ones.
yep.
Okay.
All right, let me just real fast. Mindy McPherson said, "Yay, the Queen." Scarlett said a few of them in Deadwood.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And
Yeah.
we have Parajunkie Kalana here. And Ashley Warner said, "Yum, empanadas." So,
I love empanadas.
Empanada.
all right, you ready to jump into it?
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's talk about some Faye.
Some Faye.
Woot, woot.
All
Faye
right. And here we go in 3, 2.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And I'm JT, the husband of Faye Daddy.
Yes, Faye Daddy is coming in. So today,
Wait, are you Faye Daddy?
I am Faye Daddy. You haven't caught on?
Have you not caught?
I wasn't paying attention. No, not at all.
I'm Faye Daddy.
I just thought it was
Hello.
just an overarching term.
I want a hat. I want a
Just Faye Daddy.
Yeah, I want wings and a hat that say Faye Daddy on it. That's
Done.
what I would like.
We're on it.
And my familiar is the squonk.
Squonk.
So
Yes.
Aw, poor Squonk.
She's looking at me like I need a Faye Daddy hat and
Faye Daddy
I need
hat,
a Squonk
Squonk
plush.
Plush.
yes.
At the very least, a Squonk T-shirt.
Yes, definitely a squonk.
Yes.
A squonk shirt.
Squonk shirt.
But yes, so today in Faye Daddy News, we are going to be doing an episode where I'm going to be reading to Chris and JT some news articles that have been associated with rumors of Fae-like activity, and we're going to decide whether or not we believe the Fae have a hand in them. So that's going to be the Fae segment of today.
All righty.
But
Today's Faye News.
yes,
Faye News. Oh, that's funny.
Fae News.
Like fake news, but Faye News.
Faye
Oh
News.
God.
Or it could be Fayley News.
Yes.
It's the Fayley News.
The Fae
The
News.
Fayley Update.
But before we get into today's Fae News, we are going to happily thank our sponsors. So we want to thank Cosmic Corner, which is a local metaphysical shop here in Savannah. They have all your metaphysical goods that you could possibly need, from everything for your witchy practices to your altar goods to books. There's ghost hunty sort of stuff. They don't have equipment, but they do have lots of reading material if you want to learn about different entities, or you want to learn on how to better utilize your time when you're investigating. So
Yes,
they have a
yes.
lot of resources on that.
And if they don't live here, they can buy online, right?
Yep, you can buy online at shopcosmiccorner.com. It
Nope.
is fantastic, so definitely support them. But also, we want to thank our other sponsor, which is Savannah Repertory Theater, which is our local professional theater here in Savannah. They are an equity theater, and they are going to be doing their first production of the fall season, which is Empanada Loca.
Oh yeah.
Which is like Sweeney Todd, but Hispanic and really fun. It's based on a TV show, I want to say, or mixed around.
Yeah.
I think
The
it came
play-
before.
TV show might have come before the play, or
No, the play came before the TV
That's
show.
it. And then there's a podcast as well. But yes, it's about a woman named Dolores Roach who lives in the an abandoned subway station, and she basically has some misdoings that she has done in a very
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd manner. So you won't
Yeah,
want
if
to
you're in
miss
the
it.
Savannah area, the Savannah Repertory Theater puts on outstanding productions.
It's going to be
And
fantastic.
so it's going to be fantastic. And it's in their new location, which is right there on the corner of Habersham and Broughton Street.
Yes.
Yep.
And tickets are currently on sale, so you can buy those on their website. The show is going to be September 7th through the 10th, and then again on the 14th through the 17th. So if you're going to be in the area during those weekends, definitely come out. All three of us are going to be there on various nights, so definitely come join us. It's going to be a really good time. But
Cool.
with that, let's get into our Fae News.
Faye
Faye
News.
All right. So, some of these stories are not from 2023. I think the oldest story that we have comes from like 2014. And then there's one that's more folklore news. So do you want to start with 2014 or do you want to start with more current events?
Let's start
Let's
oldest
start with
to
oldest
newest,
new.
Okay, so let's talk about a man named Sean Ritchie. So this is going to be the mysterious disappearance of Sean Ritchie.
Da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da. And mind you, he disappeared on Halloween night.
Ooh.
So, on Friday, October 31st in 2014, into Saturday, November 1st, 2014, Sean Ritchie traveled in a van with a small group of friends on the A981 to a remote farmhouse in the Greenburn area near Striken in Scotland. He vanished without a trace from the woodland near the Kersey Hill farm. This is all Scottish stuff, so excuse me when it starts to get really into the middle of the Highlands. It gets weird. But Sean had been at home that day in Fraserburgh with his family before visiting a convenience store and left with friends to celebrate Halloween. Later that day, on November 1st, 2 emergency calls were made to police from the Greenburn area, one requesting help and the second canceling the requested help. Who exactly these calls came from is unclear. It was one of the largest coordinated missing persons investigations in Scottish history.
Wow.
After this huge search, only his shoes, hooded top, and belt were found.
Nope.
Whoa.
But Sean has not been seen since. Medical experts believed he may have become disoriented in freezing conditions and stumbled into a bog. Fae-like territory.
Oh, God.
But no remains have been recovered. After years of searching, what happened to Sean? Murder? Hypothermia? Accidental drug overdose? Something more sinister? A Halloween mystery from Scotland. Extensive and detailed searches were conducted with assistance from every specialist air, land, and water resource, with more than 200 officers covering more than 15 miles of ditches, rough terrain, and large water areas. Police also used forensic soil scientists and geoscientists. The searches were conducted with the help of the Grampian Mountain Rescue Team and the Aberdeen, Tayside, and RAF Kinloss Mountain Rescue Teams, a dive and marine unit, a dog unit, and Police Scotland Air Support.
There you have it, folks.
A patch of neighbor right.
A search.
That is quite the search. A patch of neighboring woodland to Kersey Hill farmhouse comprised of rowan, ash, and spruce trees, which are also very associated with the Fae as well, because those are all very spiritual trees, was heavily searched during the initial investigation. At the time of his disappearance, Sean was wearing gray jeans, a white t-shirt, and a gray hooded top. The family enlisted the help of Glasgow Group Canine Search and Rescue and its human remains detection dog in 2015, but the Springer Spaniel failed to pick up a scent.
Oh, see that dogs? I mean, that's the
Especially cadaver dogs.
Right.
they're the best at what they
Right.
do.
Exactly.
And so if they can't find something,
It's not there.
yeah.
It's true. And so, discovery of clothing and boots. 5 days after Sean was last seen on Thursday, November 6th, specialist search teams recovered items of his clothing from the area near Greenburn. These items were found in a bog. Shoes, hooded top, and belt. Nothing else.
Huh.
Then the mother was arrested. So in August of 2016, Sean's mother, Carol Ann, 38,
Mom was arrested?
was charged with wasting police time.
Oh, that's terrible.
Right?
On top of losing her son.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
She believes her son was harmed. She even called in a psychic to visit the search site who now supports her theory.
Oh my God.
It's believed the charges relate to anonymous text messages she sent to Sean's close friends and family suggesting that Sean had been murdered. Charlie Reed, Sean's father, was working in Saudi Arabia when news of Sean's disappearance broke. Said on the bad day since his son vanished, it's hard to function. Charlie was critical of the investigation by Police Scotland and has stated his belief that Ritchie was killed over a debt.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
But why would his body not be found, though?
I mean, well, honey, they could have They could have buried it or
But the dogs
burned
couldn't
it.
pick up a scent or anything?
I don't. Yeah.
Well,
I
if
don't
they
know.
moved his body far, if it's not there,
But the
they're not gonna
dragging
find it.
scent, even if they had to drag it,
You
or
can
something.
drive across Scotland in 3 hours.
It's true.
So you can literally,
Put it
you
on
can
a
be in
boat.
Inverness, murder somebody, and then bury the body in Edinburgh by the afternoon.
we're not saying you should do that.
Right.
This is not an outline for getting
But
away
we're
with murder in
weighing out
Scotland.
we're weighing out the possibilities of, is this a Fae type kidnapping
Yeah.
or not? So
Yeah.
review into investigation. A review by the major investigation team in Glasgow of the work of Police Scotland was done, which included a review of forensic work and search activity carried out as part of the investigation. Detective Chief Inspector, Fenola, it is quite a name, Fianola McPhail. We'll call him Detective McPhail, who oversees.
Just sounds like you're making fun of him. Hey, Detective McPhail. How's your latest McFailure?
So he oversees the inquiry and said, we fully appreciate how hard it must be for Sean's family with another year passing since his disappearance, and my thoughts are with them at this difficult time. Our inquiry into Sean's disappearance remains one of the largest ever missing persons operations in the history of Police Scotland. Chief Inspector Stuart Drummond said, to date, these reviews have all concluded that this remains a missing person inquiry and there is no evidence to suggest that Sean has been the victim of any crime. We will, however, continue to keep an open mind, and I can provide every assurance that we will act on any new information provided to us. Friday, October 31st, 2014, last seen by his mother on Friday evening at home in Watermill Road in Fraserburgh. The same day, CCTV images are captured of Richie visiting a convenience store in Fraserburgh. Friday, October 31st into Saturday, November 1st, Sean traveled with friends to a farm in the Greenburn area near Stricken. Sunday, November 2nd, Mr. Ritchie is reported missing at 8:45 p.m. on Sunday evening. On Thursday, November 6th, police officers recover several items of his clothing, including his shoes and his belt from the Greenburn area. The aftermath, the farmhouse near where Sean Ritchie was lost was put up for sale for £350,000 in May 2015. What happened to Sean Ritchie? In questions. What happened to Sean after leaving Fraserburgh in the van and headed to the party? How did he end up in the woodland near the Kersey Hill farmhouse? What happened during the Halloween party? Why did the search only turn up his shoes, belt, and hooded top? Where were his remains? And what role did his friends play in the disappearance? And that's the end of that article.
I feel like we didn't hear enough about the friends. I mean,
I
he was
know,
with
right?
friends and then he disappeared. What is their story? What do they have to say about it?
Maybe they were put in a trance by the Fae
Boom.
to cover their tracks. I'm not convinced it's not the Fae.
Yeah.
The curiosity of shoes, belt, and hoodie
Yeah.
brings about like all kinds of bizarre
Moida.
notions. Well, I mean, if you went with Faye, just classic turned you into a newt kind of situation. It's like boing.
It's true.
Oh man. So here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about Scotland. There are no dangerous animals in Scotland.
It's true.
Zero. There are zero. You do. Okay, wait, hold on. There is a snake. I think it's the UK asp or something. I don't know, but it's nothing like crazy.
No.
It's not like a diamondback or anything.
Right.
All right. So it's a European adder, I think.
Right, the adder.
And so. But there are no wolves, there are no bears, there are no man-eaters in Scotland. You can go through those woods, and as scary as they are, you're not going to get attacked by something fierce other than a human or Fae, according to Fae Daddy.
So here's the thing. I have also been to the Scottish Highlands. I have also been in those woods. It is incredibly easy to fall into a Fae trap if you wanted to. If you were in the middle of the woods and it was dark enough and there was a Fae trap, you could step right into it.
What does a Fae trap look like?
it depends on which fae you're dealing with. So a lot of times they're naturally occurring archways. So like if you see trees that are naturally occurring into this arch, or you'll see an arch in that's off the path. A lot of times it's
I've seen that. We saw one in Hawaii.
we did. We saw a very perfect fae trap, essentially. And then also a lot of times it's mushroom rings, which again,
Classic
if it's
mushroom
really, really dark, which it does get very dark, because that happened in the Glencoe sort of region. It gets really freaking dark out there. And so if you're just walking in the woods and you're a little drunk or you're a little high or whatever you're doing, and you could step right into a mushroom ring, and there you go. You've been snagged by the Fae bear trap. So it's,
The Fae bear trap.
that basically is what it is.
Oh my god.
More or less.
Yeah.
And there are even more insidious ones because ash trees, if you lean against an ash tree, you can slip right into Tirnanog. You know, it's a...
Which he was...
It's
Slip
basically...
right into what?
Tirnanog, another plane of existence. The concept being that,
It's a Fae
the Fae
land.
live in another plane and they travel to and fro. So a Fae trap basically puts you in the other plane. So you step into it and you're in another plane. Now, the interesting thing is sometimes it's as simple as an unattended portal. It's not necessarily a trap. It's like because Fae will use tethers to other planes, and ash tree is one of them. And if you touch it while it's active, you're gone. That's just it. And if you have unnatural fibers stay behind. Only natural fibers can travel through. So if his shoes were made of like polyester, if his belt was unnatural, if the hoodie was unnatural, all those things would stay. And he, in his cotton shirt and jeans, would have gone over. I mean, that's not to say that's what happened. It's just an interesting thing because you start to think, well, what kind of hoodie was it? You know, was it a heavy polyester, thing? Because the concept of unnatural things not being able to traverse to the other plane is a story. There's a lot of things that people believe cannot, pass, or synthetic materials can't go into the fairy world and are left behind.
So, and there were ash trees along with rowan trees, which are also very, very prominent
much so.
in folklore and things like that, surrounding the bog where his clothing was found. So, interesting.
I mean, I do not subscribe to that's what happened to him. I'm almost positive that something terrible happened to him that involved his friends, because he was with a group of friends. And if the group of friends do not have an answer to the separation, and the fact that we're missing that, the fact that it's like,
right?
Authorities questioned the friends, and the friends gave us this detailed account of, when he separated from them, that just sounds like, maybe he got alcohol poisoning and they're like freaking out and they put him in the back of the van and drove to the other side of Scotland and threw him off a cliff.
For sure.
However you wanted to
what was his name
make
again?
that.
His name was Sean Ritchie.
Ewan? A-U-N?
A-U-N.
Okay, Sean Ritchie. I'm going to pull up a photo for the live stream. But anyway, you keep going.
So, into the next story.
Into the next story.
This one happened pretty recently in February of 2023.
Oh, very recently.
Yes. The strange disappearance of the YouTube survivalist Finn Craney. I'm going to go with Craney. In the Scottish Highlands.
Scotland's a dangerous place to go walking around.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, because you can literally go everywhere. There's a right to roam law. So it's literally,
Yeah.
if you pull off and you see somewhere pretty, you can do that. But also the Fae are really good at making things look really inviting so
I will
that
say,
you come into them.
Madison and I roamed a lot.
We did.
All we did was roam because it's just an incredible freaking place. And if you've listened to any episode on this podcast, we usually talk about Scotland. It's awesome.
It's true.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. It is really actually pretty safe. Also, here is a photo of our boy Sean. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
That's him.
So, 32-year-old Finn Craney from the Tain area
set out at around 2:15 p.m. on Friday, March 25th, 2022, for a hike. He was dropped off by Loch Naver
Okay.
on the B873 public road in Sutherland in Scotland to start his planned walking route around the loch and south to Gillespie. His route took him around the area around Altanahara and Gillespie. Finn was a keen outdoorsman and survivalist who started a YouTube channel under the name Wildcat Bushcraft in January of 2021 to showcase his survival skills in the Scottish Highlands as well as the beautiful scenery of the area. Several of his videos highlighted his ability to build emergency shelters and survive in sub-zero temperatures.
Okay.
Despite his survivalist experience, March 25th, 2022 was the last day Finn was seen. Despite a large search operation 10 months on, he remains missing with no clues at all found about his fate. Did
Wow.
he become lost? Did he fall into a bog? Or despite all evidence, has he disappeared to start a new life? His wife, Lucy, said in February of 2023, "When my 5-year-old daughter cries at night for her father, I repeat what I have told her for almost a year. Daddy has gone on one of his adventures. I don't know what's happening, but I'm doing everything I can to get the answers. I love you, I love Daddy, and I miss him. Every time the phone rings, my heart leaps when the thought, it's him. With the thought, it's him." Lucy believes she will still find Finn because people don't just vanish off the face of the earth. It's a weird thing, though.
According
And they
to
bring
Faye
up
Daddy,
bogs
they
again.
do.
Apparently, it's worth mentioning that if something falls into a bog, it is very difficult
To get out
to
of the bog.
recover and or even know it's there. Bogs are notorious for keeping their secrets, and very possibly even to the point of confounding a cadaver dog. I don't
That's
know if
crazy.
that's true.
Yeah.
I only know that this is 2 stories in a row where the bog angle came up, and I know that bogs, which are basically swamps, because I want to say when I was growing up, there was the famous Bog Man, where they actually found a very perfectly
Bog Man.
preserved body, and it turned out to be thousands of years old.
Wow.
That it had
Wow.
fallen in the bog, and because the bog is full of like peat moss and all kinds of chemicals, that very well preserved this
Ew.
body. But when you think about it, that means that people were just walking by it, being in the bog, being around the bog, and there was a body, and it wasn't that far from anything. It was just
Wow.
like one of those things where like, oh, you know what? The bog can hold on to its secrets. It can hide things. This just sounds like one of those terrible stories of hubris. It vaguely reminds me of Grizzly Man.
A little bit.
The idea of going out against nature and having this concept of your comprehension of nature being so infallible that you could survive anything, and then realizing nature's got a lot of cards up her sleeve. There's a lot of things that can take you by surprise. There's a lot of things that can, so the idea of constantly pushing yourself to survive extreme circumstances, that's a losing bet ultimately.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be something that you didn't account for, you didn't know about, or that was more difficult than you thought, or, because something as simple as like spraining your ankle can lead to death in the deep depths of nature. So it's bizarre again that with all the concerted effort to find him, there's no evidence of remains. There's no,
Right.
that's the thing that keeps coming back is
Where
where are the
bodies?
remains? Because a survivalist would have sought to create
Yes.
some kind of,
I was going to say
Right.
that. I was
camp
gonna
or
say
some kind
that.
of thing that would have at least given you an indication that he was there.
Yes.
So I don't know, and maybe if we knew better what his last attempted survival thing was, what was he going out to?
I think he was just going out for a hike.
Yeah, see, that's so bizarre.
That
you
is.
know.
Super bizarre.
Especially like a survivalist who knows terrain and knows how to survive and how to live, to go missing on a hike. You know,
Right?
I mean, that's irony, is what that is.
Yeah.
That's deep irony that he goes on a hike and then rolls into a bog. It's like, nope,
So
I didn't think about this.
the story has some similarities to the missing YouTuber Kenny Veach, who vanished without a trace in the
wow.
Sheep Mountains near Las Vegas after trying to find the mysterious M Cave in November 2014, which is a whole different thing. And the reason why we aren't doing that is because that is more aligned with the belief that national park type cryptids took that man, but which Fae and cryptids.
Fae and
yeah,
cryptids very closely related, you know,
Yeah.
and actually when you start to break down like every culture's versions of these tricksters or otherworld beings, they actually have a lot in common. You know, they actually live in, you know, because like in the case of Las Vegas, you're looking at the indigenous people's belief, and they had the first, second, third world interchangeable. So like the first peoples can travel to the third people, which is us, and drag them down to the second or first plane. So, and it sounds very similar because they have
does.
the same kind of traps. Certain caves will lead you straight to like the first world, which is world of darkness and the primordial origins place. So yeah, when we talk of Fae, we are putting a pretty big Celtic lens on it all because I would dare say that thanks to the Irish, we have probably one of the most well-developed
Right.
like histories of this civilization, these worlds. But when you go to the other cultures, they have very similar things. You know, the Oni of Japan,
Oh, yeah.
you know, they are otherworld beings that can torment and torture and show up and drag off to, you know, I think China has multiple hells that you can get entrapped in and enshrined in. So when you start, because we're talking about missing people, the concept of accidentally walking into an area that is rife with that kind of paranormal activity, we are dealing with the definitions that people come up with.
Right.
You know, we still, like, every time we go on the Fae discussion, it's important to know that we're using words and definitions that are furnished to us.
Yeah.
It's not a comprehension of what actually is happening. It is a resource that we have. You know, it's like, oh, somebody set this down, and that gives us words. Like when we use the word demon, we're not necessarily talking about the Christian, you know, construct of demon. We just know that the definition of the word fits the elements of the story that we're telling.
It's true.
So, it's interesting if we ever get into like the indigenous peoples regions or cryptids or things like that, because there are people who believe that Bigfoot is an interdimensional traveler. That's why we can't find him, is because he actually appears through a portal from his own world and then disappears, you know, just as easily, and only spends a very small fraction of his time or their time in our, you know, perception.
Sure. And then also, I just wanted to show we have some people in the UK that listen and watch and whatnot, a good bit actually. And so this is Finn. If you're watching on YouTube, and you can also Google Finn Creaney, Scotland Missing, and you can get all of these. You get all these photos if you're, you know, just to keep an eye out.
Absolutely. You know, he might be, you know, disoriented, lost.
Yeah.
He might have started a new
Yeah.
life. He might be working at that coffee shop down the street.
You never know. But yeah, a lot of these are set in Scotland because I think
fascinating,
which
really.
is really weird. But I will say, if we have enough time, we'll talk about it. But it might have to wait for its own episode. But it's called the Vanishing Triangle in Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically just like where
Yeah.
people just disappear without a trace.
There's a vanishing triangle in Massachusetts.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, wow.
very creepy. But to give you some understanding, Chris, we hadn't gotten to it in the article
okay.
of why he was out there.
Oh, good.
So he was on a YouTube adventure. So the weather was unseasonably hot that weekend in March of 2022. Finn planned to go on one of his solo adventures in the wilderness, something he had done many times. An experienced and confident survivalist, he was completely at home in nature. His intended destination was the Loch Naver, area, about an hour's drive from his home in the countryside outside of Tain in the Scottish Highlands. He said goodbye to his wife Lucy and 4-year-old daughter Luna that Friday morning, and Finn drove to Golspie Beach car park around 17 miles away. He left his car there with the aim of collecting it at the end of his hike, and a family member then dropped him off at the B873 road at 2:15 p.m. at a caravan park, and this was the last definite sighting of Finn. He left Lucy a voicemail at 12:52 p.m. I think they might have meant a.m. On Friday, March 25th. Hey, honey, I love you lots. I'm really proud of you, as she was launching a business as a florist, and he promised to be home by midday on Sunday to deliver the Mother's Day flowers for her customers that they had ordered. According to his wife, Finn always kept his promises, and he never arrived home late. Finn's phone cut off at 1:47 p.m. in the village of Lairg, and no messages were sent after this. The cell phone had either been switched off, broken, or had run out of battery. Lucy said she could see the messages she had sent him later that afternoon and evening hadn't been read, and she thought that was strange, as she knew Finn would be using his phone to film his adventure for YouTube and for navigation. She didn't think too much of it at the time, as she thought he would be okay. He always was, but he wasn't. The search.
Goodness gracious.
On Sunday evening, Lucy started panicking that Finn hadn't shown up by midday, and although this was inconvenient, she assumed his hike had simply taken longer than expected. By 6:30 p.m., however, she was really starting to worry. She assumed perhaps his phone had died and he couldn't get in touch. On Monday morning, Lucy rang the school where Finn worked, teaching bushcraft to children.
Oh, God.
Finn Creaney's wife, I'm Finn Creaney's wife, and this is going to sound weird, but is Finn there? They told her he wasn't, then went and checked the whole school. Called back and confirmed he definitely wasn't there. She then rang the police to report Finn missing. Lucy said, "Even then, I still felt ridiculous. I was sure I was overreacting, all but certain that police would meet him on his walk and he would laugh. Are you for real? He's like a cat. He always lands on his feet and always comes home. But I also couldn't help thinking, what if something had happened? Had he had an accident? What else could have gone wrong? Looking back, I think I probably went into a state of shock, unable to make sense of his absence." Finn was described as 5'11", slim build with a light complexion and freckles on his arms and nose. He has long brown hair down to his lower back and a full brown beard that is short in length. He was last seen wearing a black t-shirt, a knee-length brown leather jacket, dark-colored trousers, brown waterproof boots, and he was carrying a green rucksack. He was planning to film a YouTube video, so it was presumed he was carrying a camera or several cameras.
Wow.
Police searched the area between Altanahara and Golspie in Sutherland with the support of the Air Support Unit, as well as a number of partner agencies, including Mountain Rescue and Coast Guard. The search lasted 3 to 4 weeks, but no signs of Finn turned up. There is no evidence that Finn would ever choose to go missing intentionally, and there was no signs of a mental health crisis. The business he had launched was starting to take off, and he had a strong relationship with his family, having been together with his wife for 9 years and gotten married in 2021. The family did everything possible to find Finn after the official search finished, including ground searching on many occasions, poster campaigns, social media appeals, online searching, and research. But there was no genuine sightings. Apart from some bikers who believe they saw Finn at about 3:45 p.m., roughly 3 miles down the road from where he was dropped off. And they said he seemed cheerful. Others have come forward and reported sightings, none of which have matched. So
the bikers saw him 3 miles down the road?
Right after he got
Right
dropped
after he got
off
dropped
at the
off.
start
Oh, okay.
point. So it really,
And he was cheerful,
yeah.
so it wasn't like...
nothing was wrong at that point yet.
Makes me wonder if his equipment seemed expensive. Like if he had an expensive equipment,
Yeah.
like if somebody came upon him and decided a crime of opportunity,
Interesting.
because it's terrible. And being so fresh, he's within the realm of imagination,
Sure.
a survivor,
Sure.
Because there's no body. There's no, it's like, that's so terrifying, to have so many unanswered questions. It's definitely one of those things where people get into that frame of mind where it's like, if I just knew,
Yeah.
because it seems implausible
It's true.
that he would just befall
Yeah.
he was teaching bushcraft to children, so
He
the
clearly
idea-
knows what he's doing.
Right,
He knows
the
what
idea
he's doing.
that he would get lost seems preposterous. The
Sure.
idea that he would run afoul of something that he couldn't handle seems out of order.
He didn't. I do know that most likely he didn't have much to defend himself with because they're really, really strict in Scotland with carrying knives. You
Right.
obviously can't have a gun.
Sure.
Yeah, but I
so
think
he couldn't defend himself very well unless he had like a club on him or something like that. But even then,
you can't carry like a pocket knife for like bushcraft.
you can carry. I feel like I remember looking because I have a pocket knife and I carry it everywhere. So I remember like looking into the laws, and you can carry a smaller the knife. Actually, the more illegal it is. And I don't know. There's a lot of people listening to this, and they're probably like, "You're an idiot." But like, and I believe it's like the smaller the knife, or just like all knives. And then if you're a chef, you can have your knives on you. That's
No, that
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
If you're a chef, you can have your knives on you. And there has to be a reason for you to have this type of thing on you.
Sure.
So I guess that would be a reason.
But him being a very experienced and like expert
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think
bushcraftman, he would have
foul
known those.
play,
Yeah, he
you
would have
know,
known
that's-
those laws.
Here's the
He would've-
thing.
Yeah.
Where this happened is up near Inverness.
Yeah.
I mentioned that earlier in the episode. We've been to Inverness.
It's a
We
very
know
pleasant
it
place.
was so. Scotland in general is just unbelievably safe. I mean, it's
Yeah.
unbelievably safe. I would have like equipment out, and I didn't feel like here in America where it's like you got to watch over your back. I didn't watch over my back very much because I didn't feel the need to because it's just so freaking safe there.
Yeah, people
Like,
are just pleasant
just
and kind of
crazy.
mind their own
Although
business.
two
It's-
entirely missing people in a
Yeah.
6-year period of time
There's another
does
one too.
raise questions.
Another one? Okay.
There's
Let's
another-
go to the
Let's do
third.
it, yeah.
Next one. Although I can't rule out foul play in this notion, nor could I conceivably rule out serial killer.
Oh.
Interesting.
To encompass the two stories we heard.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the nature of just vanishing entirely,
Yeah.
just totally makes me think there had to be something that triggers the absolute disappearance of traces.
Okay. Or it's just bad.
Or the Fae. Or the Fae. Or the Fae.
But so this last one is the strange and unexplained death of Nicholas Randall in the Scottish Highlands.
Okay.
So Nicholas Randall disappeared April 25th, 2005 in Edinburgh, and then his body was found in 2008 in Oak Forest near Bridge of Orkney, Argyll, Scotland.
Okay.
Suffering from depression, 30-year-old Nick Randall decided to drive off from his family home in Edinburgh in April 25th, 2005, and headed for the Scottish Highlands to avoid being a burden on his parents. He was never seen alive again. Nick vanished in 2005 after buying a sleeping bag in a store in Edinburgh and withdrawing £500 from an ATM. And the last confirmed sighting was at the Tiso Outdoor Shop on Rose Street. And after that, he seemed to vanish. For 2.5 months, nothing was heard until his silver Audi A2 was found in the Glen Nevis Waterfall car park near Lochaber. Police believed he was living in the wild hills in the area, especially as he was an experienced climber and hiker, having bagged many of the Scottish mountains called Munros. In the following months, there seemed to be some sporadic sightings, including some walkers at the Glen Tilt in Perthshire and Blair Castle Caravan Park, where a man matching Nicholas's description had asked to pitch his tent, but after that, nothing. His body was finally found in 2008 by forestry workers in the Oak Forest near Bridge of Orkney, Argyll, in a pitched tent. The location was around 47 miles from where the car was located. The case was
quickly closed by Strathclyde police, who suspected no foul play, but the revelations of an ex-cop, Kenny McKinney, 47, changed all of that when he accused former colleagues of a cover-up to save money.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Now, I don't know why people are calling this Faye-related, because so far I just, like...
Yeah.
But
I
this
don't
is
know.
like on the list of people that are like Faye capturings, and
Well,
I'm just
you
like,
know.
this sounds like true crime. But maybe the Faye poke a hole in there every once in a while. The first two sound way more Faye-tastic, if
Yeah.
you will.
Fantastic. Oh,
Yeah. So when Randall's tent was discovered, 2 sleeping bags, a hold-all, different sized boots, and 2 sets of clothes and rucksacks, as well as a used condom, were found. Also, what was said to be a shallow grave was found in the vicinity of the tent by an off-duty police officer sometime before the discovery of the tent. So the questions that were relating to the Randall case. Police investigators assumed that Nick had succumbed to the elements and died in his tent from hypothermia. His mental health issues would have lessened his chances of survival in the cold Scottish winter. But the evidence is puzzling. The shallow grave, the sets of clothes, Nick had been living with, and had Nick been living with an unknown individual in the hills? Was he murdered? So that's all they had for him. That doesn't sound like Faye to me.
No, no,
Personally.
that no. That
That's not
definitely
really
doesn't
the
sound like
Faye's,
Faye.
like,
No. Mo.
yeah.
Although there's a lot of classic Faye stories in which a person disappears and then reappears.
Right.
However, usually they're very old when they reappear, and it's only been a short period of time. But the concept of disappearing and reappearing is not uncommon. My question is, was he in the shallow grave?
No,
or was
he
it
was in
the
his
partner?
So nobody was in the shallow grave.
Oh, it
it
was just
had
dug.
just been dug by the tent, which sounds more like somebody was trying to kill him in his sleep or something and then
Yeah.
throw him in the, but maybe
Bizarre.
got caught.
Maybe. Well, I mean, it sounded like he found someone and they were living together in the woods.
Right.
And, however things go wrong in those types of relationships, unless they want to suggest that that person was a fae, some incubi or succubi, that was living out some,
Sure. I mean,
pseudo relationship in the woods with a human. And then one day it's like, well, I'm done with you. Boom, boom, boom.
so that's the thing is like, with this last one, you could stretch it, I guess.
It takes work.
In-
It takes work.
in a way, but in just my opinion, I wouldn't call that Faye behavior. The first one is pretty compelling with the belt and the shoes
and the hoodie. I mean, it's just weird, when it comes down to it. And these are obviously tragic cases, and that the speculation on them, coming back and forth, to wheel around a Faye, hypothesis, is more about how baffling it is.
exactly.
Because those are baffling instances. This does sound like a pretty cut and dry case of a person who fled from their lives, was living in the woods, obviously met someone, and then probably ran afoul of whoever they met.
Exactly. And so, 2 out of 3, I would say, or maybe Faye. Not enough evidence to clearly say. I would give number 1 the most thumbs
Well, that
up.
mysterious shoes, belt, and hoodie raises all kinds of questions. Like, did he go in? Did he go for a swim in the bog? Don't do that, by the way.
Don't swim in the bog. Do not swim in the bog. But I guess as the finishing point, if you're going to be in the Scottish Highlands, keep your wits about you, because apparently,
And maybe don't be alone.
yeah. Well, that's always a good rule of thumb for being in the
In the wild,
wilderness.
anywhere. Yeah. Don't go alone.
Don't go alone.
And that's a sad statement of modern life. It's hard to be alone in the wilderness because there are so many factors, and those factors are oftentimes other people.
It's true.
And just the act of having someone else with you diminishes your chances, but it doesn't make you safe. There's plenty of horror stories of couples or multiple people running afoul of somebody.
But also don't swim in the bogs and
Don't swim in
don't
the
walk in
bogs.
Fae portals.
Yeah, and if you can help it, stay away from the fake traps.
Yeah. So, but with that though, y'all, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want us to talk about any more type of activity, or if you have any particular Fae entities you would like us to do a deep dive into, let us know. But other than that, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.
Fae Daddy.
Yum. No, wait.
That was a Hot Pocket one.
Yeah, that was
the Red Robin.
Yeah.
We're still live on audio.
Hello.
But we're good.
Yeah, I gotta stretch my back. Weird cases, though.
Those
right?
are strange cases, and the fact that they're all Scottish.
Yeah, we didn't have time to get into the Irish ones. 'Cause
Irish. Top of the morning to you.
yeah, because the Irish vanishing triangle is just its